On July 23, 1983, a Boeing 767 carrying 69 people lost power in both engines at 41,000 feet over the middle of Canada, with no airport in range. There was no fuel left, not a drop. The pilots had 100 tons of aircraft, no engines, and about 17 minutes to find a way down alive. What happened next became one of the most remarkable landings in aviation history, and it all started with a simple math mistake. Air Canada Flight 143 was scheduled to fly from Montreal to Edmonton on a brand new aircraft, the Boeing 767, one of the first commercial jets to use a digital fuel gauge instead of the old mechanical system. That new technology was about to become the center of the problem. Before departure, ground crew needed to calculate how much fuel the aircraft needed. Canada had just switched from imperial units to the metric system. The math should have been simple. It wasn't. A faulty fuel sensor meant the gauge couldn't be trusted, so the crew calculated fuel manually and used the wrong conversion factor. Instead of loading 22,300 kilograms of fuel, they loaded 22,300 pounds. That's less than half of what the aircraft actually needed. Captain Robert Pearson and First Officer Maurice Quintal had no idea. The paperwork checked out. The gauges, unreliable but not flagged as critical, showed numbers that seemed plausible. They took off. Cruising at 41,000 feet, everything was normal, until a warning chime sounded. Then another. Fuel pressure was dropping in the left engine. Then it flamed out completely. Minutes later, the second engine died too. In an instant, a 132-ton aircraft carrying 69 people became the largest glider in the world, with absolutely no power for its engines, hydraulics, or most instruments. Here's where luck met skill. Captain Pearson happened to be an experienced recreational glider pilot, a hobby that had nothing to do with commercial aviation and everything to do with what came next. He knew how to fly without engines, how to manage altitude as currency, spending it carefully to reach a destination. First Officer Quintal, meanwhile, remembered a decommissioned Air Force base near the town of Gimli, Manitoba, one he had trained at years earlier. It was close. It might have a runway. What they didn't know, that old runway had been converted into something else entirely. As the aircraft descended in eerie silence, Pearson used a maneuver rarely taught to commercial pilots, a forward slip, normally used only in small planes, to lose altitude quickly without gaining dangerous speed. Below them, the Gimli runway was hosting a car race. Families, campers, and race cars lined the strip that was supposed to be their landing zone. With no engines, no reversers, and barely any hydraulics left, Pearson brought the 767 down, touching the front landing gear first because the nose gear had failed to lock, screeching to a stop just short of the ground. Total injuries, minor. Fatalities, 0. 69 people walked away from what should have been a catastrophe. Investigators later found the failure wasn't one mistake, it was a chain of them. A broken fuel gauge nobody grounded the plane for, a unit conversion nobody double-checked, and a training system that hadn't caught up with a new aircraft. The aircraft, nicknamed the Gimli Glider, was repaired and flew for Air Canada for another 25 years before retiring in 2008. This incident changed how airlines cross-check fuel calculations forever, and it's still taught in aviation training today as the textbook example of how small errors compound into near disasters. And it's a reminder, the difference between a headline and a miracle is sometimes just one person who happened to have the right skill at exactly the right moment. If you want to see more stories like this, real aviation history, the moments that changed how we fly, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.